All right, 1099 case. Well, what happened was I had a friend that knows I'm in this business, and he reached out to me about his situation. And I think it's a good subject to discuss how to treat it because uh, I'm always dealing with similar situations with my job with 1099Ks. So you get a 1099K, what to do? All right. So before I say what to do, let's talk about what not to do. So number one, don't dismiss it. Okay, the IRS will come after you with a letter. It'll take the IRS about 18 months, but they will come after you with the 1099K that you don't report on your tax return. But it'll take them 18 months. So if you think you got away with it, get in until at least a couple years passes. That's just the way they do things. And this is exactly what happened with my friend. He didn't report it for prior years, and all of a sudden they came at him about a couple years later with the letter, and he asked me how to report it. So this is the second thing here of what I will advise what not to do here. So my friend had told me initially that they were just personal transactions. It's not income. It's just sending money back and forth through PayPal, and he shouldn't have to pay tax on it, not income. That's what he told me initially. So um, he initially responds to the letter saying that it's not income; they're just personal transactions. So then he went back to H&R Block where he did his taxes, and he wrote on there that they're personal transactions on the tax return and other income. Okay. Uh, the IRS responded back saying, "We need more. Sorry, we can't take this. We need to know what these personal transactions are." So uh, if you think you could just tell the IRS it's not income personal transactions, it's not going to work with them. All right. They will send you a follow up letter with more information and they won't get rid of it that way. So, so how do you treat the situation? You get a 1099K, you're kind of lost. All right. There's different ways depending on what it is. So, I'm going to discuss them right now. Um, the first thing is you first want to report it under other income section. Okay. And then label. This is also very important. Label it 1099K, and then where you got it from could be PayPal or eBay or somewhere else. Label and other income. That way, it's printed on the tax return. That way, the IRS knows you didn't ignore it, and you you're telling the IRS how you're addressing it. Okay, so that's the first thing of importance. All right. So if it's not actual taxable income, you're going to uh, put a negative amount of the same amount of the 1099K. Okay. And this will all go on schedule one of your tax return. Okay. Now, when you do your taxes, everyone uses a tax software. Okay. So you can't look at it that way. So everyone watching this video is going to be questioning about what schedule one, what does that mean? Where do I put it? So this is what you do here. Now, I'm about to get into for each situation how you're going to report it here. But in the software, every tax software, there should be a place where you could have it go under other income. So when you check the output on schedule one, make sure it's another income. Okay. Now, if they are personal items that you sold, okay, the way the IRS wants you to address this is you're going to put a negative of other income. All right. Um, and on the tax software, sometimes there's not a part two to put the negative adjustment entry in a lot of tax softwares. I know TurboTax doesn't have it that way. So what's totally acceptable is putting a negative amount under the right under as a second line where the other income is. Okay. So the IRS says to put it on part two of the schedule one, where it talks about the negatives of your income. Part one's the positives. But if you can't get the tax software to input part two, um, then just put it in part one, where it talks about um, other income. Okay, just put a negative amount, and it'll be the same amount as the 1099K, and it'll take it out. So, um, and so typically for sale of items, you put it on Schedule D. Here, you don't need to do that unless it's a gain. If you sell an item at a gain more than what you paid for it, so if it's not like if you're not doing like a garage sale, just trying to give stuff away, going on eBay, just trying to sell whatever goods you have that you want to just get rid of, and they're obviously not for a gain, but you want something. There's no taxable income. But if you actually sell an item for a gain, this is Schedule D. You're going to report this. So what you're going to do for the 1099K report under other income, you're not only going to say, okay, I got a 1099 other income amount, 1099K, PayPal or whoever the merchandise was, reported on Schedule D. That's what you're going to do. So the IRS knows that what you put there on Schedule D relates to that 1099K. Okay. After you do the plus negative to wash it out in that entry. All right. Because that's the main thing I'm getting at here. You want to make it as easy as possible for the IRS to understand, all right, what you're doing. Now, also, I want to mention you can't take losses on selling personal items. So that's why if you sell at a loss, you sell something more than you paid for, because you're not doing it for profitable business. You cannot take a loss. So the cost basis is going to be the same as the proceeds. All right, in those situations. Now, um, also, the next one could be you could get 1099K because you do have a business where you're trying to make money. You do have a side hustle. In these situations, you're going to put this on Schedule C, and it's supposed to be subject to self employment tax. Now, self employment income and expenses, look for that in the tax softwares. That's where it's going to go. And you could put your expenses in there that will offset that income because you're trying to make profit doing that. All right. Now, this is going to lead to the next option. You could have got the 1099K, and this is a hobby. Okay. So, if it's just a hobby that you're doing for fun, but you're not trying to make money, you get a 1099K, you cannot actually take deductions, but you're also not going to get taxed for self employment income, only income tax. So, in this situation, you're going to just simply report it as other income. Okay. You're not going to have to wash it out because it is taxable, but um, other income, 1099K, the merchant's name. That's what you're going to, that's what's going to be printed on your tax return for the IRS to see. Okay. Um, and also, the next thing is if you got a 1099K for a one time gig, okay? So if you just mow somebody's lawn, you got paid money and you get a 1099K for that. You babysit it one time, you're not really in the business trying to make money, or you just did something once in a while, right? Um, this is going to be other income. All right. So you do not pay self employment tax on this, which you put in other income. All right. What goes under self employment income and expenses that on the output will be your Schedule C on your tax return, that's subject to self employment tax. Um, Other income is not. All right. But they're both subject to income tax. All right. So if it's a one time gig, other income, and don't include a negative entry to wash off because you do have to pay income tax on it. All right. And the next one is if you get a 1099K and it relates to like an Airbnb, a rental, um, okay, short term vacation home rentals. All right. This goes on Schedule E. All right. So you first gotta, again, I repeat, you first gotta address this in other income. Say 1099K, PayPal reported on Schedule E so that they know that which you put on your Schedule E on your tax return relates to that 1099K, or else the IRS will send you a letter even though you already reported it. And then you'll have to address it later on, which you don't want to do, and you don't want to get that scared when you get a letter in the mail with penalties and interest. So, lastly, this was my situation with my friend. All right. So, turns out when I questioned him further, this was for gambling. All right. So, he got a 1099K from a bunch of transactions, and he said he's been doing it for years, never had a problem, never had the IRS come after him until he got that first 1099K. Um, and They were gambling winnings. So the way it's actually taxed, which he didn't know was the law, all gambling winnings, even if you lose, if you win $10,000, you lose $20,000, you got to pay tax on the $10,000. So, um, so this is what you do in that situation where it's relates to gambling. All right, it's treated as other income. So in the tax, all the tax softwares will have an area for gambling to put that. The output is treated the same as other income. So you pay income tax, but you don't pay self-employment tax. So don't make the mistake of letting the IRS make it subject to self-employment tax, which is what happened with my buddy in his letter. The IRS just assumed the worst and said, "Okay, this is self-employment income. You're going to pay income tax and self-employment tax." And that's what I told him. I said, "You have to address it and just tell the truth of what it is, because you don't have to pay self-employment tax, which will save you a lot of money if you just tell the truth and you just pay the income tax." Now, additionally with gambling, the other added benefit you have of gambling winnings is that if you take the itemized deduction, Schedule A, okay, your gambling losses up to the winnings are deductible as itemized deductions. So make sure that gets put into the software. Usually, every software has the winnings, and then there's right near it, it'll ask for any losses up to the winnings amount. So you just put in the software, and it'll calculate for you. So hope this was helpful. Uh, if you have any other questions, you could just reach down in the comment section. Hope you liked the video, and I'll make more. Have a great night.